Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar for user interface of VOISpeed UCloud. I hope you can all hear me okay, and if you've got a problem, just let me know by text message. So you should have an icon on top left-hand corner where you can chat and text to me. So what is the purpose of the webinar today? We can see that many people do not use the user interface enough. So we decided to run a series of webinars really, because the problem is that there are lots of features and functionalities there, and we wanted to show people how to use the user interface with their phones, because in actual fact, people don't need to touch the keypad of their phones if they use this software, and do simple tasks like making a call, transferring a call, setting up a conference. And what I'll do first is to give you a general overview of this user interface, so this software that I have in front of me. And after that, of course, if there are questions, feel free to text them to me using the chat box. So let's start with a general overview of the status of all these extensions. As you can see, most of them are either green, which means, of course, the phone for that person is available to make and receive calls, or is black, which means, of course, the user interface is disconnected and the phone is not logged in. The status can be seen also here on the left-hand side. If you can click on your picture on the left-hand side, then you can see available. You can set your phone as in DND, which means you are able to make calls, but you won't be able to receive them. And if you put yourself in DND, always one thing that I suggest is to write something here to say people, for example, I'm in a webinar, or so I keep receiving calls here. I am in a webinar, or I'm in training, for example. Say I'm in a training session, and save. What happens then is when people everywhere in the company right-click on your extension, they will see that you are in a training session. Yeah. So basically, it's a short explanation of what is the reason why you are in DND. Other statuses are absent. Of course, you won't be able to make and receive calls, or divert, which means using the software, you can divert your extension to another user or another number. So here I enter the number, or indeed your mobile phone. Okay, provided the mobile phone is configured here, which I have it on the as one of my devices. Everything I'm saying here is, by the way, available on any of these devices here. I can have up to 6 IP devices in my mobile phone. Plus, we recently added an important feature, which is hot desking. I'm going to tell you more about hot desking in a moment, but the idea is that you can add a phone which is available, let's say, in your office, shared amongst users, and you can link the association between the software and the phone temporarily. Okay? Whereas in this case, these are all phones that are on my desk, either here, for example, or at home. Okay, so how do I make a call? Of course, I can click on any of these extensions. I can right-click, and then the system will show me either the status phrase. I can send a text message. I can send a chat, yeah, to this person, voicemail, or contact info. So the same thing for this extension. So if I want to send a text message to Laura, I just send it here. I can also leave a voicemail for that extension, and show all the information for that contact. Here I call the extension, and of course I can send an email too. if I want to make a call using the device that I have selected here, so exactly the same thing is true for my mobile phone if I'm running the app, I can simply type the number here. In most instances, I don't even need to call that extension, and the extension is so the call is up. I can put the call on hold, pressing this button here, and I can do what is called a blind transfer. So I can transfer the call straight to another extension with the drag and drop. So that is an external call that has been transferred to somebody, yeah, in the office. So I'll do this again for you. So imagine I want to make I can try with an internal call. Yeah. So I've got the active call now here. This could be again an external call. It could be an internal call within people. I want to show you what is, first of all, a blind transfer. So a blind transfer is when the other person is sitting next to me and I say, okay, there is a call for you. All I do is simply take the call and I drag it to the other extension. Okay? So in this case, the phone rings and the call has been transferred. Very similarly to this, I can make what is called an attended transfer. Why is attended? Because if I have an active call, in this case, instead of transferring with the drag and drop, I put the call on hold, yeah, and I call the other person. So if I want to transfer the call to Isabel, and Isabel is not next to me, perhaps is working from home or is another office next to me, I'll call Isabel. Hello, Isabel, there is a call for you. I can transfer the call by either clicking on this arrow here or again drag and drop. And in this case, I've got two options. One option is to transfer the call. The other option is actually setting up a conference call. Yeah. In this case, I just wanted to transfer the call transferred. Let's see what happens when I want to instead set up a conference call. So imagine I am calling a client and I'll say, I've got Laura next to me again, and I want to I want to bring her into the conference, yeah, because I need an expert opinion, for example. All I do here, click Laura first, so call Laura first, and what I can do in this case is put the call on hold and call the client in this case. So this is going to be an external call. Okay, and I can speak to the person and say, okay, there is a person I need his expert opinion for, and I can just set up a conference call by dragging the call in and clicking this button here. So at the moment, I've got everybody on the call. Yeah, I've got Laura, myself, and the client, and then we can talk about what is the issue. So it could be a problem with the delivery, problem with the supply, or something to review to plan an activity in the future. So we've already seen quite a few things here. So how to transfer the call, how to set up a conference call. Of course, I can do lots of other things here. I invite all of you, of course, to play a little bit with the software. I can create a new department. It is useful if, particularly in a big organization, I call people all the time within my team, and I can create my own team by simply edit this department and then add the extension with this icon on the right hand corner. Other things I can do, so let me show you what these other tabs are for. Of course, I have lots of tabs activated here that you don't have otherwise. So first of all, the phone book. So the phone book, as the name suggests, of course, is the shared contact list for everyone in the company. And if I type a keyword here, the system will match the keyword against other entries in the database. In this case, it finds positive matches against the name, surname, and company name. And I can call the contact simply by clicking on the hand piece here, or otherwise I can edit the contact with all the details. I can update them if I've got the right to do so. And more importantly, I can make them as a favorite. So that means that I either click on the star, or otherwise I can edit and make them as a favorite. What happens the next time is that when I go to the phone book, the system will immediately show me these contacts, which means, for example, in the case I call them all the time, I just click and call the contact. It's a little bit like the speed dials I have on my phone. If I want to enter a new contact, enter all the details here, name, surname, and company name, and then I can decide whether I want to make the contact visible to everyone or not, edited by anyone, as well as favorites. Okay. So let's move on to the call report. The call report, of course, will show me all the list of calls. So calls made or calls received, all calls that I missed during the day, any point in time, yeah, or otherwise the calls that have been picked up by somebody else in the team, if I'm part of a group, and more importantly, voicemails. Okay, so the system here is really clever because it shows me not only my personal voicemail, but if I am owner of more than one voicemail, let's say I'm owner of other two voicemails for the company, I can manage these voicemails too. Okay, so I can see, for example, all the messages that the people have left during office hours, and I make them as a favorite and listen to them. So by playing them back, or listen or calling them back. Yeah. I can also do other things like download the voicemail and delete them, of course, if I finished. The greeting message can be listened to by clicking on this button here. I can record the new greeting message, say, for example, I'm going for a meeting and I will be back 12 o'clock. Please call me back after that time. And if I don't like, for example, the recording I've made, I just reset the greeting message. And then the system automatically puts back the standard greeting message. And finally, if I'm recording a call, in this case, I'm not recording calls, but provided I've got all the legal permissions to do so, when I call an extension, let's call Laura again. Okay, here I've got a button which allows me to record the call. So imagine I'm recording the call now. Stop the recording, stop the call. And by the way, if I press the button more than once, the system will do what is called a pause and resume, which means I pause the recording and then start the recording again with the same WAV file. That's important because, of course, you will be able to have everything on the same WAV file, and then you can download it in this section. So if you go in this section now, you will see that I've got the recording with Laura, and I can decide to download the recording, of course, and bin it. So this section here is for calls that are manually recorded by the user interface. And then, of course, you have a search button here. Chat. Okay, moving on to the next panel here, we have the chat panel, the chat tab. How does the chat work? So if I send a text message saying, for example, to somebody internally, hello, Laura, How are you? So what happens next? I've logged in as Laura, and I can see that the chat message is here. Laura has just received the message, and I can say, very well, thank you. Now, what happens here? Normal circumstances, if I am in chat with Laura, let's say Laura is talking to one of my clients and just wanted Laura to tell to that person that I will call back in 5 minutes. I can, because I'm on another call right now, or indeed I'm delivering training. I can message that piece of information to Laura here. However, it's possible that I've got the user interface minimized. So what happens in that case, when Laura texts me something like, please call back XXX, I have an audio device in my ear. I've got, sorry, an audio device, so a sound in my ear that will tell me that a new message has arrived. I have a pop-up message on the right-hand side here. And if that wasn't enough, I also have an alert on the top right. It says I've got a new message. So definitely here there's a lost call. So definitely I'm not going to miss that message. And here, so I'll go there and say, okay, thank you, thanks. I will call back after the webinar. Okay, and of course you can delete the chat, and you can search messages if you've got multiple chats. There are other tabs here that probably most of the people will not use. Again, you can set different profiles for users so that only a certain level of people have access to these features. But very quickly, I'll show them to you. One is the call center. Call center tab is really important because it allows you to see the activities of the group you are in. So imagine you are part of the admin group, or if you set them here in the settings section layout, you can set the groups that you are in. And if you go back, you see that I'm part of two groups, admin and sales. I can enter and exit the group by simply clicking on this icon here. Yeah. Provided, of course, I've got the right to do so. And I can see also the activities of the group. So, for example, how many calls are ringing, how many calls are active, how many calls are in the queue. Very important here, for example, if you've got 10 people in your sales team, you want to display this on a mega screen. So to work a little bit harder on their sales, you can do that by showing this information on the user interface. Another important feature that we have recently added is the training feature. So what the training allows you to do is that if there is an incoming call or outgoing call, if there is an active call in the system and you want to barge into that call for training reasons, so you're training the person, a new employee or the person sitting to you next to you, you can listen to that call, provide any advice to that person without the customer hearing you. Okay, and you can also set the volume, and you can do this in this section, provided, of course, your user is allowed to listen to the call as a trainer, and the other person is so whoever receives the training is allows that feature to be enabled on the user. So not everyone can listen to everybody else's calls. Yeah, so that has to be enabled at administration level. So you've seen the call report, you've seen the chat. Another tab is for parking lines. Again, it's something that not everyone will use, but if you got an active call, let's call Laura again. There is a possibility here, if you click on the three buttons, to, of course, yeah, I'll show you the other option here afterwards. But you got the option to park the call. What the system does when the call is parked is that you have this call, let's say, on hold here. And the system will tell you also how long that call has been on hold. So you don't want to keep people there for a long time. And to pick up the call, all you need to do is simply click on this button here, and then okay, I'm in D&D, so I cannot not able to pick it up. And you have picked up the call. Yeah. So when is the call parking any useful? Well, it's useful when let's say you've got a number of phones downstairs. You've got a big warehouse, and you don't know which phone you're going to pick up the call from. By parking the call, you can go downstairs, and then the first phone is free. You will use it to pick up the call, either by entering a service number on that phone, or by going here in the user interface, provided you're running a software on one of the screens, go on the parking line, the call is there, click on the handset, and you can pick up the call. Another thing that I promised to show is this call here, is this link. So you can transfer the call directly to your mobile by simply clicking that button. Of course, I'm not going to do it now, but what happens is that if you need to rush off the phone, the office, you can transfer the call on your phone to your mobile by simply clicking that button there. The other person is not going to hear that the call has been transferred, and the conversation will continue using your mobile phone. When you're back in the office, you can transfer it back to your desk phone exactly using the same procedure. Couple more things here, the user area. The user area, I'm not sure, I'm not going to show it to you because is only useful in two instances. First instance, if you use after hours. So what is after hours? After hours is a way to manually enable or disable the voicemail when you leave the office. So imagine normally your normal working hours are 9 to 5:30. After 5:30, all the calls go to voicemail. However, imagine you've got I don't know, 2 days, Thursday, Friday, where sometimes you finish 4 o'clock, sometimes you finish at 6 o'clock. The system allows you to set manually an override to the usual working hours, end of working hours, which means that you can force the system to redirect all your calls to voicemail, or indeed disconnect the call when the after hours is enabled. This is feature number one. And the second thing is meeting room. When you need to set a conference bridge on the system, accessing the user area, you can enable or disable the meeting room, entering simply starting time and end time, whoever is going to be part of that meeting room, using the user area. And if you're inviting, say, 3-4 people to the meeting room, they will also receive an email with a template where they can call a number and join the meeting room. So the difference between a conference bridge and a conference you set from here, for example, is that in this case you're actively calling everybody in the conference room. So that means that, of course, you are the manager of the conference, and but everything is actively set up in your user interface. So in practical terms, you are calling out everyone to join your conference. Usually this happens for smaller conference rooms when you want, for example, particularly people internally to join the conference. And as I showed you before, we do that by dragging the extension into this panel. The other option is a conference bridge. A conference bridge is when you give everyone, most of the times by email, a phone number to call and a PIN number to enter. And when people enter that PIN number, they join the conference room. In that case, usually you give a time, say 10 o'clock today, everybody will call this number. And the difference there is, of course, they are calling a certain number on at a certain time. So that is what we call as a conference bridge. Finally, the last tab is the admin panel. Provided you are a power user, so not all users will be able to do that, but only administrators. Administrators can access the admin panel from that link. And in the admin panel, you will be able to see all the information that the administrators have access to. Of course, here I can see a lot of information. Again, you can set a profile and give administrators access only to a certain set of features. But most of the times people want to have access to the users. So here you can change names, surnames, and everything else on the system. Yeah. So if you've got a new starter, you can change a name. The phone is still configured, by the way, with that extension, but you can change the name here on the user interface and what is displayed on the phone as well. Well, I think I've covered pretty much everything. Of course, if there are questions, very welcome to email them to us or to me, emailing support@voispeed.co.uk, and alternatively calling the number 1727 848 186. So if you have any questions, by any means, give us a ring. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and looking forward to speaking to you. Thank you.